Admiral Tae-ho stood in the Seoul Command Center, watching screens that showed something impossible. Giant ships hung in space just outside Earth's solar system. They were bigger than cities and shaped like crystals that caught starlight. For the first time in human history, Earth was not alone. The alien ships had arrived 3 days ago without warning. They came out of nowhere, appearing in flashes of blue light that made all the satellites go crazy for a few minutes. Now they just waited there, silent and still, like sleeping giants made of metal and glass. Tae-ho had been in the military for 20 years. He had seen wars and disasters, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The aliens wanted to talk, and Earth had to listen. "Sir, the transmission is starting," said Lieutenant Kyung-min from her station. She was young and smart, one of the best communication officers in the fleet. Her hands shook slightly as she worked the controls. The main screen flickered and changed. A creature appeared that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its body was tall and thin with parts that glowed soft blue. When it moved, light danced inside its transparent skin like water flowing through glass. "I am Kethval, speaker for the Vellani Coalition," the creature said. Its voice sounded like music played through broken speakers. "We bring greetings to the species called humans." Tae-ho nodded to the camera even though he felt his stomach turn. "This is Admiral Tae-ho of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome contact with your people." "Your welcome is noted but not required," Kethval replied coldly. "We come with urgent business. The galaxy is at war and Earth must choose a side." On the screen behind the crystal being, images appeared. Tae-ho saw space battles with thousands of ships firing weapons that turned whole planets into burning rocks. He saw armies of different alien creatures fighting across strange worlds under foreign stars. "For 200 of your years, the Vellani Coalition has fought the Korthak Empire," Kethval continued. "The Korthaks are destroyers who enslave peaceful worlds and kill those who resist. They spread across the galaxy like a disease, consuming everything in their path." More images flashed on the screen. Tae-ho saw lizard-like creatures with red eyes and sharp teeth. They carried weapons that shot beams of pure energy, and wore armor that seemed to move like living skin. In the background, cities burned and people ran in terror. "These Korthaks sound dangerous," Tae-ho said carefully. "But why do you come to Earth?" "We are new to space travel. We have no weapons that could help in such a war." The crystal being's glow grew brighter and its voice became harder. "Every world must contribute to the fight for freedom. Earth will provide 80% of your military forces and 90% of your industrial production. Your people will serve in our fleets and work in our factories." Tae-ho felt his blood turn cold. 80%? That would leave Earth almost defenseless. "Defense is our responsibility now," Kethval said. "Earth will be protected as part of the coalition. But participation is not optional. You will provide what we require, or you will be considered an enemy of galactic peace." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in shocked silence. Tae-ho looked around at his officers. They all had the same expression of fear and confusion that he felt in his own heart. "Get me President Min Kyung," he said quietly, "and call an emergency meeting of the Global Council. We need to talk about this." 2 hours later, Tae-ho sat in a secure video conference with leaders from around the world. President Min Kyung looked tired and worried. Defense Minister Dongwoo had dark circles under his eyes from staying awake since the aliens arrived. "What do we know about these coalition people?" asked Dr. Jiwon, Earth's top expert on biology. She had been studying the alien transmission recordings, trying to understand what they were dealing with. "Not enough," admitted Commander Hyunwoo, head of strategic analysis. "Their technology is clearly more advanced than ours. Those ships could probably destroy our entire space program in minutes." "But should we trust them?" asked Captain So-young. She commanded Earth's only deep space exploration vessel, a small ship that had just reached Jupiter last year. "They talk about freedom, but they're demanding most of our military and industry." "That doesn't sound very free to me," Dr. Jiwon nodded. "I've been studying their data about these Korthak enemies. Something bothers me about the patterns I see." "What kind of patterns?" President Min Kyung asked. "Both sides seem to use similar tactics," Dr. Jiwon explained. "They both conscript smaller species to fight their wars. They both seem to care very little about civilian casualties. The more I study this, the more it looks like two bullies fighting over who gets to control the playground." Commander Hyunwoo pulled up charts on his screen. "I agree with Dr. Jiwon. Looking at their battle records, neither side seems to be the good guys here. They're both expanding empires that use smaller civilizations as tools. So what are our options?" asked Defense Minister Dongwoo. "If we say no, they might attack us. If we say yes, we basically become their slaves. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the terrible choice they faced. Earth had just learned it was not alone in the universe, and the first lesson was that the galaxy was a dangerous place full of powerful bullies. "There is a third option," said Captain So Young slowly. "We tell them no, but we also prepare for the consequences." "You mean prepare for war?" Taeho asked. "I mean prepare to defend ourselves," So Young replied. "If these aliens want to use Earth as their personal supply depot, maybe we should show them that humans don't make good slaves." President Min Kyung looked around the table at all the worried faces. "Let's put it to a vote. All in favor of declining the coalition's demand." One by one, hands went up around the table. Even the most cautious leaders voted yes. Earth would not become a servant to galactic bullies, no matter how powerful they were. 3 days later, Ambassador Kyung-min stood before the cameras in the Seoul Command Center. She had been chosen to deliver Earth's response because she was young and represented the future that humanity was fighting to protect. "This is Ambassador Kyung-min, speaking for the people of Earth," she said in a clear, strong voice. "We have considered the coalition's request, and our answer is no." She paused, knowing that her next words might change the course of human history. "Earth declines to participate in your war. We choose neutrality and wish for peaceful relations with all galactic civilizations. We will not be weapons in someone else's fight, and we will not sacrifice our freedom for protection we did not ask for." The crystal being Kethval appeared on screen again, its glow now angry red instead of peaceful blue. "You make a grave mistake, humans. In this galaxy, neutrality is impossible. You are either with us or against us." "Then we choose to be against those who would enslave us," Kyung-min replied firmly. The alien ships began to move, turning away from Earth and disappearing in the same blue flashes that had brought them, but Kethval's final words echoed in the command center long after the ships were gone. "Non-participation is participation, humans. You have made your choice, and you will live with the consequences." Admiral Taeho watched the empty space where the alien fleet had been and felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had just declared its independence from galactic powers it barely understood. Now they would have to live with whatever came next. 6 months had passed since the aliens left, and Earth had used every day to prepare. Admiral Taeho looked out from the Seoul Command Center at a world that had changed completely. Every nation had put aside old arguments to work together. Factories that once made cars now built weapons. Scientists who studied stars now studied alien technology from the recordings they had made. But none of it seemed like enough when the alarm started screaming. "Sir, we have contacts," shouted Lieutenant Kyung-min from her station. Multiple fleets coming out of hyperspace on all sides of the planet. The main screen showed what everyone had feared would come. 2 massive fleets hung in Earth's orbit, their ships arranged like pieces on a chessboard. On the left side were the crystal ships of the Volani coalition, glowing blue and beautiful. On the right were darker vessels that looked like they were made from black metal and sharp edges. These had to be the Korthak Empire. "This is Admiral Veltar, of the Volani coalition," came a voice from the crystal ships. It was not Kethval this time, but someone who sounded much more dangerous. "The Korthak Empire has forced our hand by attempting to invade this system. We must protect Earth from their aggression." Almost immediately, another voice spoke from the dark ships. This one was rough and harsh, like rocks grinding together. "I am War Commander Thekmor of the Korthak Empire. We come to save the humans from Volani lies and deception. They would make you slaves, but we offer you partnership." Taeho felt his blood turn cold. Both fleets were acting like they were doing Earth a favor, but their weapons were pointed at the planet, not at each other. "Director Haejin, what does intelligence say about this?" he asked. Director Haejin had been studying alien communications for months. She was small and quiet, but she had a mind like a computer and could see patterns that others missed. Her face was pale as she read from her screens. "Sir, I've been intercepting their communications. They're not here to protect us from each other. They planned this together." "What do you mean?" asked General Woo Sung, who had arrived from the Defense Ministry. "They made a deal," Haejin explained, her voice shaking with anger. "The Volani get North America and Europe because of the advanced technology and industry. The Korthaks get Asia and Africa because of the large populations they can use as workers and soldiers. They're dividing us up like we're not even people," Taeho said, feeling rage build in his chest. "It gets worse," Haejin continued. I've decoded some of their tactical discussions. They call humans stubborn primitives who need to be broken in before we can be useful. They think this will take about 6 months of occupation. The first dropships began falling from both fleets like deadly rain. They were the size of skyscrapers, and they moved through Earth's atmosphere like they owned it. Some headed for major cities, while others aimed for military bases and industrial centers. All units, this is General Wu Sung, came the voice over all military communications. The invasion has begun. Execute Plan Defiance. Show these aliens that humans do not break easily. Lieutenant Namju was in the cockpit of her fighter jet when the order came. She was part of the Seoul Air Defense Wing, and she had been waiting for this moment for months. Her hands were steady on the controls as she led her squadron toward the incoming dropships. "This is Lightning Squadron," she said into her radio. "We are moving to intercept the enemy." The alien dropships were huge and covered with energy shields that glowed purple around their hulls. Namju had studied the technical data from the Coalition's earlier visit, and she knew their shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. But humans were creative. "Lightning Squadron, switch to kinetic rounds," Namju ordered. "Let's see how their shields handle good old-fashioned bullets." Her fighter shook as she fired her modified cannon. Instead of explosive shells, her plane carried solid metal slugs designed to punch through armor by pure force. The alien shields flickered and sparked as the bullets hit them. They had never been designed to stop simple projectiles moving at high speed. "Shields are failing," called out her wingman, Lieutenant Kang Ho. "Pouring it on." The first dropship started to smoke and spin as its shields collapsed under the rain of metal bullets. It crashed into the Han River with a splash that could be heard for miles. But even as Namju's squadron celebrated their first victory, dozens more dropships were landing all over the world. In the mountains of Korea, Marine Captain Jin Ho crouched behind a rock outcropping and watched Korthak soldiers march up the valley below. The aliens were tall and covered in scales that looked like natural armor. They carried weapons that shot beams of red energy, and they moved like they had never lost a battle in their lives. "Remember what we learned in training?" Jin Ho whispered to his squad. "These lizards are from a hot planet. They slow down when it gets cold." His soldiers grinned in the snow that was starting to fall. They had spent months preparing for this moment, and they had some surprises for their unwelcome guests. "Fire the canisters," Jin Ho ordered. His men launched modified fire extinguisher tanks that burst in the air above the alien soldiers. Instead of firefighting chemicals, the tanks released supercooled nitrogen that dropped the temperature by 50 degrees in seconds. The Korthak soldiers immediately began moving slower, their energy weapons taking longer to charge and fire. Some of them stumbled and fell as their cold-blooded bodies struggled to function in the sudden freeze. "Now," Jin Ho shouted. His squad opened fire with weapons that seemed primitive compared to alien energy guns, but bullets still killed, no matter what planet you came from. The Korthak soldiers tried to return fire, but their movements were sluggish and their aim was off. In her laboratory in Busan, Dr. Yoon-suk was working frantically with engineer Jae-sung to understand the alien technology they had captured from the first crashed dropship. The Korthak weapons were amazing. They could turn matter into energy and shoot it at targets with incredible accuracy. "Look at this," Jae-sung said, pointing to the weapon's power core. "They're using some kind of crystal matrix to store and focus energy. But the design is incredibly inefficient." "What do you mean?" Dr. Yoon-suk asked, studying the glowing crystal through her microscope. "They're losing about 60% of their energy to heat waste," Jae-sung explained. "If we rewire the matrix and add some cooling elements, we could make these weapons 3 times more powerful." Dr. Yoon-suk looked up from her microscope with excitement in her eyes. "How long would it take?" "Give me 6 hours and some basic electronics," Jae-sung grinned. "These aliens might have advanced technology, but they're terrible engineers." Meanwhile, in the Himalayan mountains, Corporal Boram and her squad were about to face their first real test against Korthak shock troops. These were the elite soldiers of the alien empire, 7 feet tall, armed with personal energy shields, and trained to break enemy resistance through pure intimidation. The Korthak warriors charged up the mountain path, their shields glowing bright blue and their energy spears crackling with power. They had broken hundreds of worlds using these same tactics, and they expected the humans to run in terror. Instead, Boram and her soldiers did something the aliens had never encountered before. They adapted. Mirrors. Boram shouted. Her squad pulled out polished metal shields they had made from car parts and satellite dishes. When the Korthak energy spears hit the mirrors, the beams bounced back at their attackers. The aliens' own weapons overloaded their personal shields and sent them stumbling backward in confusion. Nets, came the next order. The humans threw weighted nets made from steel cable. The Korthak warriors were strong, but they were not used to weapons that tangled around their legs and arms. As they struggled to free themselves, Boram's squad moved in with simple tools, hammers, crowbars, and construction equipment turned into weapons. Impossible, gasped the Korthak commander as he was dragged down by 3 humans with mining tools. You are primitives. You should be cowering in fear. Maybe, Boram said, raising her hammer. But we're primitives who don't give up. The alien commander's last thought before the hammer fell was that his invasion briefings had been terribly, terribly wrong. By the end of the first day, both alien fleets were sending increasingly worried reports back to their homeworlds. The humans were not fighting like any species either empire had ever encountered. Instead of using standard military tactics, they were adapting and innovating in real time. Korthak War Commander Thekmor paced on the bridge of his flagship, reading reports that made no sense to him. They defeated our shock troops with mirrors and nets? He growled at his intelligence officer. Yes, sir. And they're improving our own weapons and using them against us. Our energy rifles are now in human hands, but they're firing faster and hitting harder than when we built them. Admiral Veltar of the Valani Coalition was having similar problems. Her crystal ships monitored the battle from orbit, and what she saw disturbed her deeply. These humans learn too quickly, she said to her tactical officer. In one day they have gone from primitive defenders to a genuine threat. If this continues, they may actually pose a danger to our invasion force. Both alien commanders sent the same message to their respective home governments that night. 2 weeks into the invasion, engineer Kang Ho stood in what used to be a car factory in Oi, Seoul. Now it was something the aliens had never seen before. A human weapons development center that worked faster than anything in their experience. Show me what you've got, said General Woo Sung as he walked through the facility with Dr. Yoon Suk and several other military leaders. Kang Ho picked up what looked like a Korthak energy rifle, but it had been completely rebuilt with human parts. We've increased the power output by 300%, he explained proudly. The aliens were wasting most of their energy through bad design. We fixed that. He pointed the weapon at a thick steel plate and pulled the trigger. The beam that came out was bright white instead of the usual red, and it cut through the metal like butter. Incredible, breathed General Woo Sung. How long to make more? We're already producing 50 per hour, Kang Ho grinned. And that's just the beginning. Wait until you see what we've done with their shield generators. In another part of the factory, teams of workers were installing Valani energy shields on human vehicles. But like everything else the aliens had made, the humans had found ways to make them better. The original shields could stop energy weapons, explained Dr. Young Mi, a biologist who had become an expert in alien technology. But they failed against solid objects moving fast enough. We've solved that problem, she demonstrated by throwing a brick at a shield generator. The brick bounced off harmlessly, stopped by a barrier the humans couldn't see. We studied both alien species, Dr. Young Mi continued. The Korthaks are reptilian. They need heat to function properly. The Valani are crystalline. They vibrate at specific frequencies to communicate and think. Combat medic Gi-jun nodded as he joined the group. We've found their weak points. Korthaks become sluggish when it's cold and they can't see well in certain types of light. The Valani shatter if you hit them with the right sound frequency. You mean we can break them just by playing music? Asked General Woo Sung. Not music, Gi-jun smiled grimly. But we've built sonic weapons that can disrupt their crystal structure from 50 meters away. One blast and they fall apart like broken glass. The sound of heavy machinery drew their attention to the far end of the factory. There, Do-hyun was climbing into what looked like a construction mech, but it had been armed with both human and alien weapons. Used to operate cranes, Do-hyun called out through the mech's speakers. Turns out the controls are pretty similar. But now instead of moving steel beams, I get to fight aliens. The mech walked forward with smooth, powerful steps. It was 3 times taller than a human and covered with armor plates taken from destroyed alien ships. On its arms were mounted the improved energy weapons that Kang Ho's team had developed. We've got 40 of these machines ready for battle, reported the factory supervisor. And more coming off the production line every day. General Wu Sung shook his head in amazement. 2 weeks ago, we were struggling to understand their technology. Now we're building weapons they never imagined. That's not even the best part, said Dr. Youngmi. Show him the surprise we're preparing for their fleets. They walked to a secure section of the factory where astrophysicist Chang Min was working with computer specialist Yu Jin on what looked like a massive computer terminal connected to alien communication equipment. We've been studying their fleet networks, Chang Min explained. Both alien races use quantum communication systems to coordinate their ships. Very advanced, but also very hackable if you know what you're doing. And we know what we're doing, added Yu Jin with a wicked smile. We've written a virus that will make their own ships attack each other. They'll think they're being fired on by their enemies, so they'll fire back. You can make them fight each other? General Wu Sung asked in disbelief. Better than that, Yu Jin replied. We can upload the virus to both fleets at the same time. While they're shooting at each other, we'll launch our own attack from the planet's surface. The plan was put into action 3 days later. In underground bunkers across the world, teams of hackers and technicians worked together to penetrate both alien fleet networks. It was the largest cyber attack in human history, and it was aimed at enemies who had never imagined that primitive humans could touch their advanced systems. Sergeant Subin crouched in the Seoul subway tunnels with her urban warfare team, waiting for the signal. Above them, Korthak and Vellani ground forces were fighting for control of the city. But down in the tunnels, the humans had been preparing a different kind of warfare. Remember, she whispered to her soldiers, these aliens have been fighting wars in space and on open battlefields for thousands of years. They don't know anything about fighting in tunnels and sewers. Her team had spent weeks turning the subway system into a maze of traps and ambush points. They had studied both alien species and learned exactly how to hurt them in ways they would never expect. The signal came as a series of explosions from orbit. The alien fleets had begun firing on each other, just as Yu Jin had promised. In the confusion, Korthak and Vellani ground forces started receiving conflicting orders and began shooting at each other as well. Now, Subin ordered. Her team emerged from hidden tunnel entrances all over the city. They carried sonic weapons designed to shatter Vellani crystal bodies and freeze guns that could drop the temperature. Around Korthak soldiers by 100 degrees in seconds, the aliens had expected to fight humans with energy weapons and standard military tactics. Instead, they found themselves under attack from enemies who popped out of manholes and disappeared back underground before they could react. Delta Team, this is Subin, she said into her radio as her soldiers dragged several stunned Korthak warriors into the tunnels. We've captured 6 enemy soldiers and 3 of their vehicles. Proceeding to extraction point. Above ground, Do-hyun was having the time of his life. His construction mech stomped through the streets of Seoul, engaging alien vehicles in combat that was part construction work and part pure violence. A Vellani hover tank tried to flank him, but Do-hyun had been operating heavy machinery for 15 years. He swung his mech's arm like a crane boom, connecting with the alien vehicle and sending it crashing into a building. This is Mech Unit 7, he reported cheerfully. Just took out another hover tank. These aliens might be advanced, but they're not very good at improvising. The real surprise came when Fleet Admiral Sang-woo launched Earth's first space counterattack. It was not pretty or elegant like alien technology, but it was effective in ways that shocked both invasion fleets. All units, this is Control, came the voice from the hastily built Space Command Center. Target the confusion zones where alien ships are firing on each other. Hit them while they're distracted. Earth's space weapons were a mix of modified satellites, commercial rockets loaded with explosives, and railguns built from particle accelerator parts. They were crude compared to alien technology, but they worked. The first salvo caught both alien fleets completely by surprise. They were so busy shooting at each other that they never saw the human attack coming. Korthak destroyers and Vellani cruisers exploded in bright flashes as human-made weapons found their targets. Impossible, transmitted Korthak War Commander Tekmore as he watched his fleet take damage from primitive human weapons. How are they hitting us from the planet's surface? Admiral Veltar was asking herself the same question as her beautiful crystal ships shattered under the impact of simple metal projectiles fired at incredible speeds. Sir, reported her tactical officer, the humans appear to be using modified industrial equipment as weapons. That last hit came from what our sensors identify as a mining laser. A mining laser? Veltar could barely believe it. They're attacking our fleet with mining equipment? The battle continued for 6 hours, and when it was over, both alien fleets had lost nearly 30% of their ships. Some had been destroyed by human weapons, but most had been lost when the fleets fired on each other in the confusion created by Eugen's virus. In the Seoul Command Center, Admiral Taeho looked at the reports coming in from around the world and felt something he had not expected. Pride. Casualties? He asked. Light, reported Lieutenant Kyung-min. The aliens were so confused by our tactics that most of their return fire missed completely. Equipment losses? Minimal. Most of our weapons are built from industrial equipment that we can replace quickly. And alien casualties? Lieutenant Kyung-min smiled. Heavy. Both fleets are retreating to higher orbits to regroup. Ground forces in 12 major cities have surrendered or been captured. Admiral Taeho nodded slowly. 3 weeks ago, Earth had been facing invasion by 2 superior alien empires. Now those empires were retreating and trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Sir, said Director Hae-jin as she approached with a decoded alien transmission. You need to see this. The message was from the Korthak fleet to their home government. Human resistance is unlike anything in our combat database. They do not fight according to any known military doctrine. They adapt faster than we can develop countermeasures. They improve our technology and use it against us. Request immediate reinforcements and authorization to use planet-killing weapons. A similar message had been intercepted from the Volani fleet. The humans are technological vampires. 1 month after the invasion began, the alien commanders were starting to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. What should have been a simple conquest had become their worst nightmare. Intelligence Officer Miran sat in the underground command center in Seoul, coordinating with resistance cells around the world. Her screen showed a map of Earth covered with green dots, each one representing a human victory against the alien occupiers. Taemin, what's the status in Europe? She asked into her headset. We just took back Paris, came the reply from resistance leader Taemin. The Volani tried to use their mind control devices on the population, but our sonic disruptors broke their concentration. Half their crystal soldiers shattered before they could retreat. And South America? São Paulo is ours again. The Korthaks brought in heavy armor, but our freeze weapons made their vehicles too brittle to function. We captured 12 tanks intact. Miran smiled as she marked another victory on her map. What had started as desperate resistance was becoming something much more dangerous. A coordinated global offensive that was pushing both alien armies back to their landing zones. All resistance cells. This is command, she announced. Begin operation reversal in 3 hours. It's time to show these invaders what humans do to bullies. High above Earth's surface, the Korthak fleet was trying to deploy their most terrible weapon. War Commander Thekmor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his engineers prepared the planet cracker, a massive device that could split a world in half with focused gravitational energy. Sir, the weapon is ready to fire, reported his tactical officer. 1 shot and the human resistance will be ended forever. Do it, Thekmor growled. These primitives have humiliated us long enough. But down on Earth, Chief Engineer Seok-jin and nuclear physicist Da-eun had been preparing for this moment. They had spent weeks studying gravitational theory and building modifications to Earth's nuclear arsenal. The gravity mirrors are in position. Seok-jin reported from his control station deep beneath the Himalayas. If they fire that planet cracker, we'll be ready. Are you sure this will work? Asked Da-eun, her hands dancing over complex calculations on her computer screens. Physics is physics, Seok-jin replied calmly. Gravity follows rules, even alien gravity. When they fire their weapon at us, our mirrors will bounce it right back at them. The Korthak planet cracker fired, sending a beam of twisted space-time toward Earth that should have torn the planet apart. Instead, it struck a network of carefully positioned gravitational deflectors that the humans had built from modified particle accelerators and nuclear reactors. The beam bounced back like light from a mirror. But instead of hitting Earth, it struck the Korthak flagship with the full force of a planet-killing weapon. War Commander Thekmor had just enough time to scream, "Impossible!" before his ship was crushed into a ball of twisted metal no bigger than a car. At the same time, the Volani were trying their own solution to the human problem. Admiral Veltar had deployed mind control satellites around Earth, devices that could take over the thoughts of entire populations and make them docile slaves. But neuroscientist Dr. Hyawan and programmer Junsu had been studying Villani, brain control technology, since the first week of the invasion. Their mind control works by resonating with human brain frequencies. Dr. Hyawan explained as she made final adjustments to her counter device. But we've learned how to generate the same resonance and turn it back on them. Like using a mirror to reflect light, Junsu added. Except this mirror reflects thoughts. When the Villani satellites activated their mind control beams, they expected to see millions of humans suddenly become calm and obedient. Instead, the beams were intercepted by human-built resonance generators and reflected back at the alien fleet. Suddenly, thousands of Villani soldiers found themselves unable to resist human commands. Their own mind control technology had been turned against them, and they began defecting to the human side in massive numbers. This is incredible, reported Admiral Veltar's communications officer, his crystal body flickering with confusion. Our own troops are surrendering and giving the humans our access codes. Shut down the mind control system. Veltar ordered desperately. I can't, the officer replied. The humans have taken control of our satellites. They're using our own technology better than we do. On the ground, Special Forces Captain Minho was leading one of the most audacious operations in military history. His team was boarding alien ships using nothing but modified deep-sea diving suits and industrial cutting tools. Remember, he told his squad as they prepared to attack. A Villani cruiser that had landed to pick up refugees. These aliens have been fighting with energy weapons and force fields for thousands of years. They've never faced anyone crazy enough to attack their ships with cutting torches and crowbars. The alien ship's energy shields were designed to stop missiles and laser beams, but they had never been tested against humans with simple metal tools who were determined to cut their way inside. Minho's team sliced through the hull like it was made of paper and fought their way to the ship's control room using weapons that would have seemed primitive to cavemen. Bridge secured, Minho reported as he tied up the last alien crew member with rope. One cruiser captured intact. The aliens keep asking how we got through their shields. I don't think they understand that sometimes the old ways work best. Pilot Acha was having similar success. In the skies above Seoul, she had managed to steal a Korthak heavy fighter during a ground battle, and now she was using it to attack other alien ships. This is Lightning Leader, she announced over the radio as she dove toward a formation of Villani interceptors, engaging enemy fighters with captured Korthak weapons. The Villani pilot saw her coming and prepared for a standard dogfight between advanced spacecraft. What they got instead was a fighter pilot who had learned to fly alien technology by reading the manual during combat, and who was not afraid to try things that no sane pilot would attempt. Dadaicha rolled her stolen fighter in ways that made the Korthak engineers who designed it would have fainted. She used human flying techniques combined with alien technology to create a fighting style that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. Fox 3, she called out as she fired a Korthak plasma torpedo at point-blank range. The Villani fighter exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. This is impossible, transmitted the lead Villani pilot as he watched his squadron being torn apart by their own enemy's weapons. She's flying that Korthak fighter better than the Korthaks do. That's because I learned how to fly it the hard way, Acha replied, somehow managing to intercept their communications. And because humans don't give up. By the end of the second month, both alien fleets were facing a crisis that their command structures had never been designed to handle. They were losing a war to a species they had considered primitive, and worse, they were losing it badly. The Korthak Empire sent an emergency transmission to their homeworld. The human resistance has exceeded all possible projections. They have destroyed our planet cracker using gravity weapons we did not know they possessed. They have captured dozens of our ships and are using them against us. They improve everything they touch. We request immediate evacuation. The Villani Coalition sent a similar message. Human technological adaptation rate is beyond anything in our records. They have turned our mind control satellites against us and are using our own troops as allies. They steal our weapons and make them more effective than the originals. This is not a conquest. This is a disaster. But the humans were not done. In secret facilities around the world, scientists and engineers were working on projects that would change everything. Dr. Yoon-suk stood in a laboratory that had once been used to study particle physics. Now it was being used to study something much more dangerous: how to build better, spaceships than the aliens. We've combined Korthak hull technology with Vellani energy systems, she explained to Admiral Tejo and General Wusung. But we've also added human innovations that neither alien race thought of. She led them to a hangar where the first human-alien hybrid spacecraft was being assembled. It looked sleek and deadly, with crystal energy conduits running through metal armor plating and weapons that glowed with contained power. It's twice as fast as anything the Korthaks have built, reported Chief Engineer Seok Jin. And the energy weapons are 3 times more powerful than Vellani originals. How many can we build? Asked Admiral Tejo. We have 12 ready for combat now, Seok Jin replied. And we're completing 3 more every day. Give us another month and we'll have a fleet. General Wusung looked at the hybrid ship and felt a grim satisfaction. Good, because I have a feeling we're going to need them. He was right. High above Earth, both alien fleets were preparing for one final desperate assault. They had called for reinforcements from their home worlds, and massive armadas were already traveling through hyperspace toward Earth. The aliens had learned that humans were dangerous when defending their home. Now they were about to learn that humans were even more dangerous when they decided to go on the attack. Admiral Tejo stood in the Seoul Command Center, looking at intelligence reports that showed alien reinforcement fleets approaching from 2 different directions. Admiral Tejo stood in the command center of Earth's first true starship, watching as the massive alien reinforcement fleets approached through the viewscreen. The ship around him was a perfect blend of human engineering and alien technology, but it was something more than either race had ever built alone. All stations report ready, announced Commander Ju-Wan from the navigation console. Hybrid weapon systems are charged and locked onto targets. Engineer Sunmi looked up from her station with a grin. The new human Vellani energy core is running at 120% efficiency. These aliens built good technology, but they never figured out how to make it work properly. The reinforcement fleets were enormous, over 2,000 ships from each empire, carrying weapons that could destroy planets and armies that had conquered hundreds of worlds. But they were facing something they had never encountered before. Humans who had learned from their mistakes and turned their own technology against them. Incoming transmission from the Korthak War Prime reported, Communications Officer Kyung Min. The screen showed a massive reptilian creature covered in battle, scars and wearing armor that pulsed with energy. This was the supreme commander of the entire Korthak military, and he looked both furious and frightened. I am War Prime Gorthak, the alien announced. I have come to finish what my subordinates could not. Your resistance ends today. Actually, said President Min Kyung as she appeared on the human command ship's bridge, your invasion ends today. We're here to discuss the terms of your surrender. The alien commander's eyes widened in shock. Our surrender? You are insects compared to the might of our fleets. Then why are you afraid? Asked Admiral Tejo calmly. It was true. Despite their overwhelming numerical advantage, both alien fleets were hanging back at the edge of the solar system, afraid to come closer to Earth. They had learned to fear human ingenuity, and that fear was about to save both their civilizations from complete destruction. Sir, reported Lieutenant Namju from the weapons station, I'm reading massive energy buildups in both alien fleets. They're preparing to fire their superweapons. Let them, Tejo replied. Activate the planetary defense grid. Around Earth, a network of satellites and orbital platforms came online. They were built from technology stolen and improved from both alien races. But they incorporated human innovations that made them more effective than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Korthak fleet fired first, launching gravitational torpedoes that could collapse stars. The Vellani fleet followed with quantum disruptors that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. Both weapons were targeted at Earth, and both were powerful enough to end human civilization instantly. But the weapons never reached their target. Defense grid is operating perfectly, reported Dr. Yoon Suk from the Planetary Control Center. Gravitational fields redirected back to sender. Quantum disruptors absorbed and reflected. The alien superweapons struck their own fleets with devastating effect. Korthak dreadnoughts were crushed into balls of twisted metal. Vellani crystal ships shattered into millions of glowing fragments. In seconds, both reinforcement fleets lost hundreds of ships to their own. Weapons. Impossible, whispered War Prime Korthak as he watched his most powerful vessels destroyed by their own. Attack physics, replied Engineer Seok Jin from his station. You taught us how your weapons work. We just figured out how to make them work better. The real shock came when Earth's fleet moved to attack. What the aliens saw was not possible according to everything they knew about technology and warfare. The human ships were faster than Korthak vessels, and more maneuverable than Volani fighters. Their weapons hit harder than anything either empire had ever built. Their shields were stronger, their sensors were more accurate, and their tactics were completely unpredictable. "How are they doing this?" demanded Admiral Veltar as she watched human ships tear through her formation like they were made of paper. "They're using our technology," her tactical officer replied in amazement. "But they've improved it beyond anything we thought possible. Those energy weapons are 50% more efficient than our best designs. And look at their hull construction," added another officer. "They've combined our crystal matrix technology with Korthak metal armor in ways that neither of our races ever imagined." Captain Hyojin commanded one of the hybrid destroyers, and she was having the time of her life. Her ship was outnumbered 50-1, but the aliens couldn't touch her. "This is Defiance 1, she announced cheerfully as her weapons tore apart another alien cruiser. "These improved Volani energy cannons are amazing. I can fire continuously without overheating." Her ship spun and rolled through space in ways that made alien pilots dizzy just watching. She was using human fighter tactics with a ship that had the firepower of an alien dreadnought and the speed of a racing craft. Impossible maneuvers, transmitted a Korthak pilot as he tried unsuccessfully to target her ship. "No vessel that size should be able to move like that." "You obviously never met a human pilot," Hyojin replied as she destroyed his fighter with a perfectly aimed shot. The battle continued for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The human fleet was smaller, but it was also faster, smarter, and more deadly than anything the galaxy had ever seen. When it was over, both alien fleets were retreating in panic. They had lost over half their ships, and the survivors were begging for permission to withdraw from human space. "This is War Prime Gorthek to all Korthak forces," came the desperate transmission. "Abort all operations in the system immediately. Repeat, retreat at maximum speed. These humans are not what our intelligence reported." Admiral Veltar sent a similar message to her fleet. "All Volani vessels withdraw to safe distance. The humans have become too dangerous to engage. They have turned our own technology into weapons we cannot counter." But the humans were not finished. President Min Kyung appeared on screens throughout both alien fleets, broadcasting from the bridge of Earth's flagship. "This is President Min Kyung of Earth," she announced. "You came to our world to make us slaves in your galactic war. You failed. Now we're going to make you an offer." War Prime Gorthak and Admiral Veltar both appeared on split screens looking defeated and desperate. "What do you want?" Gorthak asked. "We want the war to end," President Min Kyung replied. "Not just your war with each other, but your wars against smaller civilizations throughout the galaxy. You cannot dictate terms to galactic empires." "Admiral Veltar protested, "Can't we?" asked Admiral In Sung as he appeared alongside the president. "We've just defeated both your fleets using your own improved technology. How do you think we'll do when we start building our own original designs?" The threat was clear and terrifying. The humans had proven they could take alien technology and make it better. If they started from scratch with their own designs, there was no telling what they might create. "What are your terms?" War Prime Gorthak asked quietly. General Wu Sung stepped forward. "Both empires will cease all aggressive expansion. You will free the worlds you have conquered and allow them to choose their own governments. You will end your practice of enslaving smaller species. And in return?" Admiral Veltar asked. "In return, we won't hunt you down and free every world you've oppressed," President Min Kyung replied. "We won't show up at your home planets with fleets of improved warships and armies of humans who don't know how to give up." The alien commanders looked at each other through their communication links. They were facing a choice between accepting human terms or fighting a species that had already proven it could destroy them. "We accept," War Prime Gorthak said finally. "Agreed," Admiral Veltar added reluctantly. "Good," said President Min Kyung, "but just so you understand the situation completely." She gestured to Admiral In Sung, who activated a display showing the edge of human space. What the aliens saw made their blood run cold. A massive fleet of human ships was under construction, each one larger and more advanced than anything they had seen in the battle. These were not hybrid vessels built from captured technology. They were original human, Designs that incorporated everything Earth had. Learned about galactic warfare. The Terran Liberation Fleet, Admiral In-sung announced. Our mission is to find worlds oppressed by galactic empires and help them achieve freedom. We launch in 6 months. You plan to invade our territories? War Prime Gorthak asked in horror. We plan to liberate your victims, President Min Kyung corrected. Every world you've conquered, every species you've enslaved, every civilization you've bullied, they all deserve the same choice we demanded for ourselves. The choice to be free. Dr. Jiwan appeared on the screen next to the president. We've been studying your empire records, she announced. Both of your civilizations have oppressed over 3,000 worlds between you. That's a lot of liberation missions. Engineer Jae Sung joined them, holding a data pad covered with technical specifications. And we've been busy improving your technology even more. Our new ships are twice as fast as anything you saw today, with weapons that are 10 times more powerful. The alien commanders stared at the human leaders in stunned silence. They had come to conquer Earth and instead had created their own worst nightmare. A species that would not only defend itself, but would actively hunt down and destroy every empire that preyed.